Hey everyone, Leo with Dreaming Tree, and welcome to the assembly video for our Autumn Glow Lantern. We have a beautiful home decor piece featuring some lovely flowers and a new style of lantern. And we're gonna hop right in here. First thing we're gonna do is work on putting together our flowers just so we have them ready for when the lantern is all done and complete. I have some of the leaves laid out here because we need to glue down our little veins. There's just a few of those, not a big deal. And what we want to do here, we're going to shape these in a specific way. Okay, so basically we're going to repeat the same design on both sides of the lantern. So there's two of each element, and we're going to use one of each on each side. Okay, so let's start with this guy here. Okay, so you can see here that the veins for all of all four of these pieces, these veins are all identical. So each of these green leaves is going to need two. And what we're going to do is I'm going to grab a thicker dowel here because we want these leaves to kind of hug the lantern, okay? So I'm going to flip this over. I'm going to place my dowel right about here. I want this to kind of bend down. So place it here, lift up the leaf about 90 degrees, and then run the dowel through. And you can see how it kind of makes it droop. Then we'll take the tip right about here, lift that up 90 degrees and bring it up. So it kind of goes down and then up. Okay, we're gonna do the same thing on both sides. So first we're gonna flip it over, bring it down, flip it over again, and then bring it up. And the reason I wanna do this now is so that as we're applying the veins, we can kind of contour them against the actual leaf. Because if you try to glue it flat and then try to shape it, chances are this little vein is going to come off of the actual leaf. It's hard to train two layers of paper together. I've learned that over years of doing this. Okay, so we'll just throw a little bit of glue on that vein. You'll notice that there's a little, some little markers here. There's one little round one for the base of this, and then two that go right in between where the two little sections start to kind of separate. Okay, so just press those down. And as you're pressing down, you can actually take and kind of accentuate that curvature even more. Okay. Now once we have it at least somewhat curved like this, if we want to train it a little bit more later on, it'll work a lot better and we won't risk having these two separate. Okay, so you can see how nice that sits on there. So we're going to do the same thing with the other one here. Are you serious right now? Okay, go easy on the glue. You don't need a lot of glue on this, but you definitely need to get glue all the way out to the tips of each of these little veins. Otherwise, they're going to be kind of floating in limbo. Okay, again, use the little markers to help you with the placement, and then very, very gently just press those down. And if a little bit of glue squirts out, just press it, get it onto your finger instead of leaving it on the paper. Okay, there we go, just like that. Okay, so that one's done. Put that off to the side. We'll do the same thing with this one. You're going to get to see pretty much both of these, or each of these twice. Okay, we'll flare that up like so. Grab your vein. There's just a few of these. And the flowers are actually very easy to assemble as well. They're not anything crazy. We're not putting them on stems. So the process should be pretty painless. But in the end, you're going to end up making something really beautiful and unique. And we've got a nice little Luminera candle. Those are the ones that I think were kind of, I think they were invented by the Walt Disney Company. And I'm sure that other people have licensed the technology. The company Luminera makes some of the more realistic looking ones. So if you're looking for a candle, find yourself a Luminera. Again, there's probably other options out there. They may not work in the same way, but they generate the same effect. So that's all that really matters. Okay, kind of giving this a little extra push. And there we go. Okay, so that one's done. We'll put that off to the side. And let's take a look at, we've got this little oak leaf here. And this one here, I'm just going to take and just kind of like you're curling your hair. Okay, you can bring some of these down, bring some of them up, whatever you want to do. Just get those tips moving and grooving. We don't want them to be all flat and lifeless. Okay, and now this one here, you can see what the vein looks like. There's one that's kind of similar, but it's smaller. This mid-size one is for our oak leaf, okay? And this one, for the most part, is going to be relatively flat. Not much going on as far as shaping it, so you can just leave it like that. It is going to curve a little bit, but we don't need to do anything to accomplish that later on, okay? And again, you've got little markers there to help you with the positioning. It actually starts right about here, just like that. Make sure it's nice and centered. Press that down all the way, like so. Okay, there you go. Put that off to the side, grab your next one, and let's start shaping those tips of these little leaves here. Okay, that looks good. Put that down, grab our stem. And just very gently, don't cake this with glue because it's going to end up all over your leaf. And as much as they say it dries clear, you know, that's not completely true. It does leave kind of a little bit of a sheen. And can be unsightly sometimes, not always, but all right, next, this little oak leaf, a little bit smaller. Therefore, you want to make sure you find the correct size vein. Okay. And use your little markers to help you with the positioning. That's a beautiful contrast on that one. And for this one here, I put the vein on, but probably should have done this first, but actually I don't think it's really going to matter too much. Just go ahead and fold and wrap those tips around your dowel just to give them some life. Okay, I'm going to do it first. Sometimes I do things out of order. Sometimes it bites me in the butt. Sometimes it doesn't. In this case, I think we're going to be okay. All right. I just put together our pumpkin patch paper sculpture, and that was a process. But everyone that I've shown the end result to was like, wow, that's something, quite something amazing, something quite amazing. I think you guys are going to love it. Okay, that just leaves these two little guys, and you can see on that leaf, obviously we're going to use the smallest set of veins. Nice and easy with the glue, super thin. And again, use the little marker there to help you with the placement. There we go. And this one here, I think we're just going to take this and just kind of fold the top back a little bit. You can bring these up a tad if you want. Okay, there we go. And here I go again, doing things out of order. This one's going to go back and up. That's fine. Grab your last little vein. That wasn't too bad. Our flowers are super simple to put together too, so it'll be fun. Okay, holding it by the tip, placing it right between those, there's like 3 little markers there. There we go. Sometimes with small pieces like this, when you put something on it, it tends to kind of flatten it out a little bit, but that's okay. All right, so of course, as I mentioned, this guy here, this set of leaves, I'm going to take a bigger dowel, I'm going to curl these down. Those are going to kind of hug the one of the corners. Do the same thing here. Just going to curl those so they're kind of drooping. Okay, so we've got one there. And our little maple leaf, this one you can kind of just get silly with. The top I'm going to go towards me. This one I'm going to kind of go away, bring that one in. This one I'm going to bring in, then I'm going to pull out, keep that together. Do the same thing here. Towards me, away. Let's go away and towards me. Keep these together. And again, I'm just sorting these. This one's going to go here, this one's going to go here, so on, so forth, and on and on, and on and on. Okay, so we got 2 piles. Now we just need to make the flowers. Now each side is going to have a large and a small aster. And you'll notice that you have, I'll just do it like this. I ink these like crazy too, so the colors might be a little off, but that's okay. So we have a lighter color and a darker color. And you're gonna, each one's gonna have a dark and a light. Okay, so there's 2 large and 2 small. So I'm gonna take one of the larger dark ones, one larger, okay. So we've got 2 large flowers, 2 small flowers. And each flower, as I mentioned, there's gonna be a darker shade and a lighter shade. Now this looks almost like that one because I inked it, but if I flip it over, you'll see the original color. That's darker, that's a little bit lighter. So you need 1 darker and 1 lighter. And the lighter one is going to be on top. Okay, so it's like this. Lighter on top, that's the 2 small ones. Okay, and what we're going to do, this one I already did, we're going to take a dowel and for each of these petals, again, place the paper between your finger and the dowel, lift it up about 90 degrees, and then just run the dowel through. The thinner diameter dowel you use, the more pronounced the curve is going to be. Now we don't want too much of a curve, just a nice subtle curve on this. And I would just do this kind of like in an assembly line. Just get this done first. Okay, just get them all nice and curled, like so. And now for this one here, maybe a thinner dowel since it's a smaller flower. And you can also just take and curl it instead of running it through. Accomplishes pretty much the same thing. And just be careful not to go and be too rough with this because you'll rip that petal right off the base of this thing. Just be careful. Okay, so you can see this one's a little more pronounced, but that's okay. We can always flatten it out if we think we trained it too much. I think over time they sort of naturally want to flatten out a little bit. And you can always just go in there and kind of touch it up a little bit if need be. Okay. Let's get that going. And one more. Remember the light color is going to go on top of the darker. And so we'll put the flowers together first, and then we'll put the stamens in. I have to kind of explain which parts of the stamen to use for what. Okay, so very simple process here. I'm going to take the darker color, just throw a little dot of glue in the center. Take the next layer, and you want to offset it. You don't want to put it right on top. You want to rotate it ever so slightly so that each of the layers is visible. Okay, so there's one. Remember the lighter color on top. You can put glue on this piece too, it doesn't matter. As long as you get it centered. It's a little off center. There we go. Okay. And onto the larger ones. A little bit of glue there. Again, make sure you offset it so all of the petals are nice and visible. Just like that. And the last one. Don't forget to offset. There we go. Okay. So we have 4. Now, let's take a look at these guys here. And what I want you to do is I want you to kind of, sort of, organize these by size. Now there's 4 of them that are obviously larger than the others. And then there's kind of 4 that are somewhere in between. And then there's 4 that are small, okay? So what we're gonna do, now among the 4 that look like the largest, look at the circles and you'll see that even the circles are slightly different in size. If you don't get it perfect, don't beat yourself up. But grab the ones with the largest circles and put one there and put one there. Then grab the 2 larger ones that are almost the same diameter, but with a smaller circle, put one there and put one there. And then come down here to these super small ones and find the ones with the largest circles of the small ones, okay? And that's gonna be these 2. So each one's gonna have 3. And then find the 2 with the largest circles that are left from these. Put one there and put one there. And then one here, smallest circle, smallest circle. Okay, so each one is gonna have 3. And what we're gonna do is just simply layer them on top of each other. But what we wanna do is take and just bend these up. And you can just put them in your finger like this, and then just kind of twirl it, or just scrunch it, just to fold them so they're up like that, okay? And grab the next layer, and we're gonna do the same thing, just kind of fold them up. Don't rip them, be very gentle. They are pretty small. And then once they're kind of folded a little bit, you can kind of twirl them in your hand. Then, and if you want to do an assembly line sort of thing and get that all folded over first, that's fine. We're just going to take one and pop it right inside of the other, making sure you get that nice and centered. And try to offset it. I'm going to use a dowel, and if it's not totally offset, it's still going to look good. Okay, I'm going to do the last one here. And then once we have all of these glued down, I'm going to take this whole yellow stamen and glue it into the center of the flower, obviously. Okay, so let's get our glue in the center. Take this little piece, pop it right in there. It might help just to use a little dowel to push it into place like that. And then you can take this whole thing, kind of scrunch it together and let it kind of come out a little bit naturally. Grab some glue right in the center and just pop that in there. Make sure it's nice and centered. There we go. You can kind of spread them out a little bit along the outside just to fill it out nicely. And there you have your little flower. So the same process with all of these. Okay, just the fact that those are a little bit smaller. So I'll walk you through one more here, and I think you can handle the other 2 on your own. So you see how I did that? I just kind of grabbed it, folded it up, twirled it around. And like I said, if it helps you, it makes more sense, just kind of do all these all together in like an assembly line. Because once you get the feel for it, it's so much easier to repeat it if you do it within a few seconds rather than going to do something else and losing that muscle memory, as we'll call it. Okay, just pop that right in there. Grab your dowel, press it in. Drop that one in. It's almost like the little stamens are creating a little basket. So it should just kind of float right in there. Okay, so here they are, all done. So as I mentioned, we'll do one small, one large, put it next to your pile of leaves. And now let's take a look at our sunflower. So we're gonna make 2 of these. And I already kind of started on one of them. What you're gonna do is you're gonna take, this is a 1/4-inch dowel, and you're just going to pop it right at the very tip of each of the petals, and then just take and press them along the side of the dowel. And it's going to kind of give it it's going to give it this little shape here that you can see from the top. It's going to curve them like that. Okay, I'll do that on the next one as well. But anyway, we're going to do The lighter color is going to go on top. Okay, so this is darker, this is lighter. I inked them so they kind of look very similar, but they are two-toned. And just like we did with the other flowers, you want to offset so that you can see all of the little petals. Just make sure you get that nice and centered. There we go. Okay, next, we got the stamen. You're gonna have a large one. This one I started to kind of curve a little bit. This gets smaller as you go. Okay, and with this, again, you can just kind of take it and just bring those up. And then once they're kind of up, you can just kind of twirl them around in your fingers. They're gonna flatten out a little bit. Okay, but what we're doing here is just stacking these. Okay, and again, offsetting. I'm going to offset these and get them as centered as you can. Just kind of building this up to make it nice and thick. Okay, there we go. And then now we're going to go into the blacks. Like that. Throw a little glue on the back. Just a little bit. And pop that in there. Again, offsetting it. Making sure you get it nice and centered. And then we're going to keep on cruising here. Going to the next smaller one until we get to the smallest, and then we've got this guy that's going to go right in the center. And what we're going to do with that one is just kind of wrap it around itself. And I'll show you. That's pretty simple. Okay, don't forget to offset. There we go. That's pretty good. And the last one, just fold those up, twirl it around, get them really standing up nice and tall. And we'll apply our glue and pop the next layer in. It's kind of dark in there with all that black. There we go. Then you can take this whole thing and just kind of bring it up like that. Okay, so again with this guy here, all we're going to do, and you don't really need to use glue initially, just going to start folding it and then wrapping it into a circular shape. Once you kind of wrap it around itself a few times, it'll start to kind of form into a circle, almost, not quite, but make sure you get it nice and tight and you keep that flat part nice and level throughout the wrapping process. Try to keep it nice and tight. And then as we get towards the end, we'll apply a little bit of glue just to kind of keep it from unwinding. Okay, just keep on cruising. It's a little tedious. Might help to kind of look at it from the bottom. Every now and then you just kind of push on it just to make sure it stays nice and level. So like right now I'm just going to give it a little, kind of squeeze it or push it, sandwich it between your fingers just to make sure it stays nice and level. There's no hole in the middle. It's all just wrapped around itself completely. Okay. There we go. You can kind of hold it like this too. Whatever feels most comfortable for you. All right, now just before we get to the end here, you want to take and just put a little bit of glue on that little straight edge there, that little line that all of the little stamens are connected to, and then just wrap the rest of it around. Make sure it's nice and level, and then as you're holding it and letting it dry, you can kind of start kind of pulling them out, flaring them out a little bit. I want to try to make this look as full as possible. Okay, I'm just kind of pulling on them very gently. You don't want to break it. Here we go. Okay, and that's what we end up with. That's going to go right in the center, like that. If you want to use hot glue for this, you can. I don't think it's necessary though. So right in the middle, press that down, and while you're kind of holding it in the center, you can take and kind of squeeze these in a little bit and then flare some of these out. We want it to look seamless, like there's no, can't really tell where one ends and the other begins, if you know what I mean. Just bring those in and then pull some more of these out until it just looks kind of like that. Okay, and then obviously we're going to take and apply some glue to the back of this and pop that right in the middle of our flower, and that is stunning. Okay, just make sure it's nice and centered. There's quite a bit of glue on there, so I'm just going to let that sit, and then once it's fully dry, we can take and kind of bring these flowers in a little bit like that. And there we go. There's your beautiful sunflower. So let's make one more. Okay, remember, 1/4 inch dowel, about halfway up the petal, and just wrap it around and cup it around the dowel to give it that nice natural look. And it is getting hot in here. It's already late in the day, but these lights, when they're on for extended periods of time and it's hot out, it gets hot. Okay, same thing with this one. And remember, when you're layering the flower, the lighter color is going to be on top. Okay, just keep on cruising here. Almost done. I just need to put the lantern together. It's actually quite simple. I've got a lot of little overlays for it, but it's not difficult at all. Okay, and this is my lighter one that's going to go on top. So we'll throw a little bit of glue right on there. And again, don't forget to rotate and offset. Make sure it's centered. There we go. That's the spot. We kind of bring these in a little bit. Can always do that later, not a big deal. Okay, and let's arrange these from largest to smallest. There you can see that. Got my texture side out. And then of course this little guy. So same process, just take and fold these up. And then you can kind of just twirl them around between your fingers. Speed up the process a little bit. And I'm just going to do an assembly line because, as I mentioned, sometimes it's easier just to kind of repeat the same process so you kind of get that muscle memory working to your advantage. And these are really fun to build. They're so simple. It's so beautiful. Definitely take the time to ink because it really makes them pop. As you can see, I actually was playing around with some different tools today. For the inking of those, these little guys, these have very fine little bristles on them. They work well for that. For the leaves, I noticed that it just doesn't give me the coverage that I like, but it was actually pretty good for the flowers. Very soft end result, which I really like. A really nice gradient where you can almost not even tell where it begins and where it ends. Gives it a nice and natural look. So I might have to do a video just kind of showing that. It's very simple. I mean, there's nothing to it. You just kind of do little circles. Okay, so that's our largest piece. This is the second largest. Don't forget to offset. Pop that right in there. If it's not looking like it's offsetting properly, it's probably because you don't have it centered. So just make sure you get it centered. That's good enough. Okay, the next one. Apply our glue. I went a little heavy on that one there. And nice and centered and offset. There we go. That's a winner. And the next one. So yeah, with all this heat right now, it doesn't really motivate me to decorate for fall just yet. I need one of those 60-degree days, I think, to really get me inspired to go all out. I actually grew corn this year because I ended up paying all this money for those little corn stalks where they take 3 corn stalks and just kind of wrap them with some twine, and they sell them for like $9,000 a piece. Yeah, I kind of decided that I'm not going to pay money for that. I'll just grow my own corn, and ended up buying, I think, was it maybe 2 seed packets, and I got like 40 stalks for like $4. I did feed them and I had to water them, obviously, but I'm on a well, so it's not really that expensive for me until the pump goes out, and then it's like $7 grand, but that only happens once every 20 years or so. All right, so again, with this middle part, just wrapping it around itself all the way down. And I'm trying to remember how I did it. I think I kind of did it like, oh, I did it like this, where I held it like this and just kind of wrapped it and used my fingers to keep it in line. Make sure you keep it nice and tight. Don't yank on it because it will rip very easily. To be very gentle with this. Okay. And when there's about 2 or 3 inches left, that's where we're going to add the glue, just to make sure that it sticks to itself. Right about there. Just a thin little line of glue right at that very bottom. That little section that's keeping it all together. And there we go. Give that one good little press there at the end. Okay, so as it's drying, I'm just kind of flaring these out a little bit just to make it nice and full looking, like that. That looks like a flower in itself. Okay, we'll throw a little glue on the bottom. Pop that right in the center. There we go. Just press that down. As we're pressing it down, kind of bring some of these out. Just flatten them out a little bit. Just make it look all like it was just all one piece, like that. Okay, and we'll wrap it up. Apply our glue, a little more, and get that nice and centered on our sunflower. Yeah, that's probably good. There we go. Okay, there she is. All right, so our flowers are done. Let me show you what I got here. So we're gonna have 2 sets of all of these. Okay, and you can see how nice that looks. Okay, so I got one pile there, another pile there. Now it's time to put together our lantern. All right. Okay, so first thing, find the pieces that look like this. Okay, now one side is going to have this beautiful little motif, and we have some pretty embossed paper here. So what we're going to do is we're going to do that on one side, and then right next to it is going to be a blank panel, because this is where our flowers are going to go. So why put something that you're not going to see on there and waste time having your machine cut it? Okay, and then of course you want to make sure that if you put that design there, that you put it in the same spot on the other one. Okay, so that they alternate once we join this all together. So it's going to be like that. Okay, so let's go ahead and get that glued into place. And as you can see here, when we put it down on this, it's going to have an even border all the way around. So just be conscious of that. All right. And there are some little details on this, so be careful applying your glue, not to get it too close to these little cutouts. And of course you want to put a little bit on that little vein there. And if you put too much, just dab it so it doesn't go shooting all over the place. And as I mentioned, just make sure you get it nice and centered so that you have a border all the way around. And if by chance that vein, if that vein is not sitting flat, you can always just paint a little glue under it. Just take a scrap piece of paper, throw a tiny bit of glue on it tuck it right under that vein, apply a little bit of glue, and then just press it down. Okay, so that looks pretty good. And then again, next one over is the blank one. Now it's almost blank. There are some little square marks on here with some letters, and that's to help you with the positioning of the flowers so that it's easier to get that arrangement done correctly. Okay, so pop that on there, nice even border all the way around. Press that into place. There we go. You can fold that like that. And we're gonna do the same thing on the other side. There we go. A little bit on the vein. Hit that with my finger, and again, try to make sure you get that even border all the way around. There we go. Press that down. And then we'll go over here. Same thing. Just like that. This is very pretty paper. I love how it was like pre-embossed. I think we've used this on, we use this on our owl, one of the fall owls that we did a long time ago. Okay. All right, so now you can actually take and we can assemble this. So just go ahead and throw a little bit of glue on this tab here. We'll just get this put together. Spread that glue out to the very edge, and then grab this piece, line it up, and you can see what's happening here. You can actually fold it onto itself just to make sure that you've got it lined up properly. I'll press that down. That's where we joined it right there at that seam. And then we'll go ahead and apply glue to this tab. Just like that. And you can actually do this flat. Just line it up, make sure it all matches up, and press that down. And there we go. Okay, so that part's done. Looks really good. Now, I'm gonna do some more overlays here. Grab this piece, and we're gonna need 4 of these. And if I can locate them all, there's the other one. Okay, and then we're gonna grab, there should be 4 of these. Okay. And again, we're gonna do this while everything's flat, just to make it easier. Just flatten it out. Okay, so these, obviously, you can see where those go. And make sure that you line those up so that the little holes there are not being obstructed. So we'll get all 4 of those in place. And if you want, you can get a little bit of glue on each of these little bars here. I don't think it's totally necessary. Just do your best to line that up. You get those lined up. Should naturally leave a little border all the way around. Okay, and I guess while we're here, just do each section, including this little gold foil piece. It's going to go right up on top. And if you want, you could probably emboss this little gold foil piece, but I think there's so much embossing on this project already that I don't know if it's necessary. You can leave a little bit of just a solid. I'm going to flip this over and press from the other side so I don't blemish that foil with my fingerprints, which can happen sometimes. And hopefully that's straight, and we'll move on to the next one. Okay. Pretty straightforward. And the assembly on this, there's no like curved sections on this lantern. It's all straight edges, so it should go together pretty easy. I kind of like that. Sometimes we include like weird curves on things, and you know, it's not hard, but this one's gonna go together nice and easy for us. Flip that over, press from this side. That looks good. Okay, moving on. And I'm just making sure that I've got the embossed section facing out. Sometimes it's hard to tell. I don't want embossed and then debossed. There we go. Okay. There we go. So yeah, we'll see. I know for a fact the that paper sculpture will definitely end up somewhere on one of my walls in the house. It's been a while since we've done one for fall. That spring one, you guys really love the spring one that Diana designed with the little bicycle. And it's been quite some time since we've done a fall lantern. I think this is probably one of my favorite ones for sure. It's very, it's got sort of a, it's like, I don't know, it's classic looking, but also has a nice rustic touch to it. And my whole house is decorated with what I guess you'd call country industrial. So all of this stuff would fit very well with my decor. And it's cool. Kind of mixing and matching paper with non-paper stuff. I wouldn't do all paper in my home, but if you throw in some paper-related stuff with non-paper, it looks really cool. All right. Okay, so that's done. We may as well just go ahead and assemble this. What we're going to do is apply glue to these little tabs here and just kind of join the sides together. Now be very careful applying your glue here. We don't want it to encroach onto the surface at all. And if you are like me, using your finger to pull that glue, make sure you keep it confined to one finger and not like your thumb, because eventually you're going to get glue on your foil, and that is unforgiving. It will not come off. I've tried, maybe with, I don't know, I tried with damp water or a damp rag, and it always ends up destroying it. So just be careful. Okay, just line that up with the neighboring wall, like so. That looks great. Got a couple more to go here. There we go. Pull that in. Make sure that other tab is kind of tucked under. Get that out of the way. There we go. Okay, beautiful. And now we may need to kind of get in from the inside here for this last little tab. Nice and easy with the glue. You can also use your nozzle to kind of spread it out to the edge. Just be careful. Don't want to blemish your foil. Okay. Just wipe that off. There we go. All right, next, I can move these out of the way. There's a little tiny tab here on this section, and that's going to come down like that. And then those other tabs that are sitting there below these little walls, those are actually going to be used to join this to the section that we created in the previous step. And I'll show you how that works here in just a moment. Okay, there we go. We'll go over to this one, apply your glue. Then we have a pretty little ring that goes on top. And I think maybe we'll hold off and do that later, like towards the end, kind of put the cherry on top, so to speak, just so that we don't end up crushing it while we're joining this to the main part of the lantern. Okay, I think it might just be a good idea to save that for the last step. All right, so tuck that in, line it up, and press that into place. And a little glue squirt out there, that's okay though. There we go, and I've got one more in there. It's kind of in a tight little spot, so I'm gonna grab a scrap piece of paper, just throw a little glue on there, and just paint that right onto that tab. And it saves me from having to possibly accidentally ripping this thing apart, trying to force my nozzle in there. Okay, there we go. Okay, let's just take these two things and put them off to the side. I don't want to break anything right now. Okay, let's put the little ring together. Very simple. Now you'll notice that there's a little score mark here. There should be. Yep, it's there. I'm going to fold that at the score mark. What we're going to do is we're going to sandwich these back to back like this, but we are not going to put glue on this part down here, on these little tabs. Okay, so just apply glue to this part minus that little tab that we just folded over. Okay, this is going to create that little ring, and then we're going to put the little gold overlay on top of that. So match that up, make sure it's sitting on top of itself nicely. Take a look at it from the other side. Okay, now I'm just flattening this out. I did not put glue on those tabs, but I'm just doing this so I can really press it down and make sure that it really gets a good hold. There we go. Give that a press. All right, now we're going to take and glue the gold foil onto that. So it's essentially going to end up being 4 layers thick, which is plenty. So you could definitely hold this thing by this little ring when all's said and done. Okay. Make sure your fingers stay nice and clean. So we're playing with foil here again. Match that up, line it up. And then again, let's make sure it has a hold first. Be kind of tricky sometimes, and then press that down upside down so you don't end up blemishing the foil. And that looks great. We'll go over to the other side and put the other piece in place. Okay. Whoops. And just match that up as accurately as you can. Here we go. All right, careful, don't get any glue on there. Flip it over, and I'm going to use my shirt. Press that down. Since there's gold on both sides now. There we go. Okay. And as I mentioned, I'm going to put this right on top like that eventually. We'll do that at the end. I think I can go ahead and work with this now. I'm going to tuck these tabs in. It still seems kind of loose there, but I think it'll be okay. All right, so that's just going to go in. We're going to take these tabs and glue them to the inside of this structure. Make sure it's centered. Okay, so let's start by just gluing one of these tabs into place. This kind of moves around a little bit. Okay, so I put glue on there. I'm going to push it up against the inside of this wall, but I'm going to look at it from this side here. So I want to make sure that I have it nice and flush. Okay, so that looks good. Give that a press. And then we'll go to the side opposite of the side that we just glued. Throw some glue on there. Then look at it again from this angle. Make sure it's flush. And then press that up against the inside. Just like that. And then we can go over to one of these. Throw a little glue on there. These flies, man, I tell you, drive me nuts. There we go. And that just leaves one more. And it's going to go right there. Just make sure it's all nice and lined up there. There we go. Beautiful. And there is the top. Okay. And again, that's going to get glued on at the end. And we'll probably put that to this side. That's fine. We'll figure that out later. All right, put that off to the side. And let's go ahead and let's construct the base. That just leaves that. And that's for the base too. What is this? Oh yeah, that's our little lip. Okay, not bad. Not bad. Making good progress here. Now before we do that, we have this little overlay here that is going to go right here. And again, nice even border all the way around. We have 4 of these to put down. So let's do that. And you can see how simple the lantern is. It's literally just square, 4-sided. Very, very simple. Okay, make sure you get that even border. Okay, press that down. There we go. Rotate it and get ready to put the next layer down. Try to keep the glue somewhat away from those little diamonds. I don't want that glue seeping through. And I don't even think we need to worry about putting glue in between every single one of those diamonds. As long as you have it around the perimeter, it's not going to go anywhere. There we go. And a little bit of glue seep out there, that's okay. And rotate. And the next one. Very simple. It's going to look gorgeous though. Adding the flowers is just really going to put it over the top. I think you guys are going to love this one. And this whole bundle actually is going to do quite well. Really kind of, as you guys say on Facebook, pretty much every week, really keep outdoing ourselves. Not easy to do after almost 8 years. But we're doing our best. I appreciate you guys sticking along with us for so long. Okay. And the last one going down. Again, make sure that you get that even border all the way around. Beautiful. Okay. All right. So now we're going to take and I'm going to flare this way temporarily, to make it easier to work on the first layer here. Okay, so you've got this little triangular tab here. We're going to apply our glue to that. Let me move this out of the way for a second. Nice and easy. I had too much glue on there at first. All right, tuck that behind its neighbor, and that's going to be straight up and down. Try to get some of that excess glue off. And just hold that in place, like so. All right, we'll go over here now and apply glue to this triangular tab. Nice and easy. Got to be careful here because, again, the glue tends to kind of show more so on darker colors if you don't keep it where it needs to be, if you know what I mean. So just be very careful working on these, not to get, if you're using a dark color, that is. Okay, there we go. Get that lined up. Okay, that looks pretty good. Yeah, it's gonna look great. Okay, you know what? Let me hold that for just a few extra seconds. And you know what, it might just be a good idea to, yeah, let's just glue this down here. I was just going to go around and do that first layer first, but I think for the sake of keeping this thing nice and sturdy and safe from being ripped, it may just help to just kind of do one seam all the way down. That's what we'll do. There we go. So you can see you just got to get that one at a bit of an angle. Now we can move on over to this side. Spread that glue around a little bit. Thin it out. Tuck it behind this wall here. And just press and hold that for a moment. And then we'll put glue on this one here and just join that as well. Actually, we could do that while we're holding it. If that's too much for you, that's okay. You get kind of used to the multitasking after a while. Okay, just going to join that right there. That looks great. Okay, moving right along here. Got one more little triangular tab here. I'm going to have to come in from the inside so I don't accidentally rip this thing up. One last small triangular tab. Let me bring this up out of the way. Tuck that into the adjacent wall, right behind it, I should say, and press and hold. There we go, getting that real good press. And then going to the larger triangular tab, spread that out. There we go. And tuck that in, line it up. Oops. There we go. Looking good. Looking real good. Okay, and that just leaves this little guy here. Throw some glue on him. I accidentally kind of bent them a little bit, but that's okay. Spread that glue out. Tuck it behind, line it up nicely, and press and hold. Okay, so the base is pretty much almost constructed. I'm going to put the bottom on first. So pick one of the sides here, and let's get the glue on one of these large tabs. Go a little sparse on the bulk of it, but then do a thin line right up to the edge. And pull that glue all the way out, like so. And then grab this large piece here, and you want to get that right on there, centered right up to the very edge of that tab. And press that in place. If you have to kind of scoot it out a little bit, that's fine. And once you have it centered, you can just kind of drop it and press down on the rest of the tab to make sure it makes good contact. Check your seams. And a little bit of glue pop out of there, but that's okay. All right, good deal. Now, I'm going to apply glue to the rest of these 3 tabs, and I'm going to do a little curly Q on the majority of it, and then we'll do a thin line right along the base, the bottom of each of the tabs, and we're going to take, I need a little more here, I'm going to take that glue and pull it out to the very edge, all the way across. I want it to be slightly wet. All right, and then we're going to close this up and just focus on getting it aligned with this side here. You might need to kind of tug at it a little bit just to pull it out so that it's flush. And then check your sides too. Okay, there we go. Other side, hopefully it was still wet. Just kind of push that in a little bit, and then we can push from the inside because we got a little hole in there. And if our seam isn't perfect, we can always go in and kind of clean it up, and that's fine. We'll just use our little painting technique. And maybe we won't have to, we'll see. And a little glue shoot out there, that's okay. All right, so that seam looks decent. This one looks like a disaster, and that's okay. That's gonna happen. This is where we just grab our scrap, throw a little bit of glue right on the end. You can see that huge gap there. Just gonna take and paint some glue right onto that surface, and then just press that into place and hold it. It'll stick. It'll look nice and seamless here in a second. There we go. And we didn't put any foam core into this because the candle's actually going to sit on the surface. Kind of gives the illusion that it's kind of on a base, but we're saving materials here, and it still gives that base-like sort of look. Okay. All right, I've got a couple more little gaps there. And that happens when you're dealing with a lot of surface area. It can happen. So don't think you're doing anything wrong. We're dealing with paper, but you know the right techniques, you can make it look really nice, okay? So there's that. We also have a little bit of gold trim that we're gonna put on here. and that's going to go right here. I want that centered. Okay, so what we need to do, because you'll notice that there's a little tab on one of these sides here, so we're actually going to glue that down first. Okay, so this side here with the tab, apply your glue. Let me just put this down. Just very thin, nice and easy. And then throw a little bit of glue on that tab too. Make sure you don't overdo it. And just pop that on. Make sure it's centered on this section. Nice and even. There we go. Pull that tab over. Press that down. There we go. And just hold that in place for a moment. Okay, this tab didn't quite take, so I'm just going to throw a little extra dot of glue on there. Way too much. Pull some of that off. Press that down. Okay, there we go. And just keep holding that until it sets. Then we're going to grab this one here. Now this one, you can take the side without the little tab, and we'll get that glued into place. And that's going to go over the tab from the other one. So just in case there's a little bit of a gap, that little tab there will kind of fill in that gap, so you won't even see it. So push that up against the corner, drop it right on there, like so. Make sure it matches up with that tab nice and centered. Press that down, and just hold that for a moment. That looks good. Okay, now I'm going to go over here. We're going to apply glue to this section with the little tab at the end. Right out to the very edge. Pull off some of that glue if you got too much. Bring it down, make sure it's nice and centered. Then push that tab over onto the other surface on the adjacent side. And just hold that down. Just be nice and flush up against the surface. There we go. We'll finish it off by applying glue to this last little strip. This one does not have a tab on it, but it will go on top of the one. It'll go on top of the tab. So grab that, just line it up with that tab. It should look nice and straight. And it is, for the most part. That looks good. You just press and hold that down. And there we go. Got a nice little gold accent on our beautiful base. Stunning. Okay, so that's almost done. Now what we're going to do here, this little piece, this is just kind of a little lip that we created so that when you put the lantern on top of it, it doesn't just slide off. Okay, so what we're going to do is just join these sections together. So you can take and apply a little bit of glue on that triangular tab, bring this wall up, and hold, press and hold. And we're just going to glue this right on top using the circle as our guide. And again, it's going to be just to hold our lantern in place. All right, so a little bit of glue on the next triangular tab, bring this wall in, align it, and press and hold. Kind of creating a box, but not really. All right, next one. There we go. Line that up. Okay, and the last one. Tuck that in. Get your glue on that last tab. Line it up and press and hold. There we go. Okay, so there's our little lip. Straighten that out a little bit. And then you can take and apply glue to the bottom of this. And I'm going to just make sure that I get a little bit around the perimeter and just kind of spread that out. I want it to be nice and seamless around the edges, like so. And we just want it straight, like that, and just line it up with the existing little circle. Make sure it's nice and square. That looks good. And then just press all the way around. Okay, so you'll see how this works in just a second once we have the lantern all complete. But the base is done. That looks great. Make sure there's less of a gap there. Well, probably won't even see it though once we put the lantern on. Okay, so that's done. Now onto the main part of the lantern here. And this is pretty straightforward too. Okay, so basically with this, you're gonna put this on, and there is gonna be an even border on all four sides. Okay, so just make sure that you're getting it on and aligned nicely. And you can just use the little diamond in the center as your guide. I don't think it's not that difficult to get it to line up, but look at the diamond on the inside as my initial guide for placement. As long as you've got that lined up, the rest of it should just kind of fall into place. And of course it will. Okay, just press that into place. There we go. Wonderful. Okay, so got one half of it done. Do the same thing here. Just taking a look at it real quick. That looks good. We'll flip her over and apply your glue. Get that in place, and then it's time to just do an arrangement with the flowers, but everything's pretty much predetermined, so there's no guesswork. And we've already done most of the training of all the flowers and the leaves, so really it's just a matter of just gluing it into place. It's going to go real quick. It's a beautiful little lantern. It's going to add some very pretty rustic ambiance to your fall decor. And my favorite thing is saying, well, yeah, I made that with paper. That's the best. Okay, there we go. And one more. Let's just make sure that everything looks good. And it does. There we go. I like that. I like that side better. It's a symmetrical piece, so it shouldn't matter. Sometimes I think we were having some problems with one of our Cricuts. Maybe the belt's just kind of going or something. It's hard to say. In larger areas like this, it's kind of cutting some things in a weird way, but it's all good. All right, looking at the little inside diamond to help me with the placement of this piece. There you go, kind of lift it up, give it a little nudge in whichever direction I think I might need to move it. And there we go. Okay, all right, we'll put this down flat, give it a press. And now what we're gonna do is we're gonna join these two sections together by using this tab here, and then ultimately join the other end to make it a rectangle, or a box, I should say. Spread that glue out to the very edge. I want this to look nice and seamless, almost like it's 3D printed, but it's even cooler because we made it by hand. And just line that up like so. Give that a press. And then you can actually take it, fold it over onto itself, and it should be flush there. Keep that nice and flush, and then just kind of push this way. It'll correct itself. Okay. There we go. Check that seam. Looks pretty good. All right. Now we'll apply some glue to this tab here and close this up. Spread that out. There we go. And technically, you should be able to just put this down flat like this, grab the other end, and pop it into place. And it should match up pretty much spot on. Then we'll take it, fold it over onto itself. And I'm going to press right here. And there we go. Okay. All right. Looks great. All right, so you can see here, it's going to go right over this little lip. That's going to keep it in place. And now we just need to attach this little roof to the top. That looks great. I'm going to start off by just anchoring it to one of these. And I don't want to bring the glue out all the way because I don't want it to bleed out onto the surface, but just pop that over. Okay, and then what you can do is bring it out like this. And just make sure it's lined up. Actually, I'm just going to take and stick my finger up through here. Keep it nice and square. And then you can just press it right onto there. Just make sure it is nice and flush and right up to the very edge of the top there. There we go. That's good. Now technically, let's take a look there. That looks good. Technically, we should be able to open this up like this. Okay, and then let's put glue on the opposite side now. All the way out to the corners. Definitely want some glue there. And then a little bit there. We'll close it up. Whoops. And bring it down as far as it needs to go to make that flush, and then just kind of push from the inside up against that tab to help it get a grip. There we go. Easy peasy. Okay, and that just leaves two tabs here, and we'll have to kind of put the glue in from the inside. Okay, so we've got this tab and this tab glued down, and there's two tabs left. There's this one, and there's this one. So all we need to do, we can actually just bring this down and just throw a little bit of glue on there, and I'll show you what I'm doing here in just 1 second. Okay, so I've got glue on this tab here, right? I'm going to take it and push it up against the inside wall, which is this wall here, and I'm going to do it kind of like this, just so I can make sure I'm pressing on this area here. And I may need to kind of nudge it a little bit just to make sure that it is in fact lined up correctly. And that looks good. Okay, so that just leaves one more tab here. We'll bring that down and apply some glue to it. Okay, so there's that tab with the glue. I'm going to push it up against this wall. I'm going to do it this way so I can check those two seams, make sure they're, at this point, you really can't move it around because it's already anchored at 3 points, so it should be pretty much spot on. Mine is. I'm sure yours is too, hopefully. And there you go. Okay, so there's that. That's good to go. And you know, we could put this piece on if we want at this point. Okay, so why don't we just do that real quick. We'll just throw some glue on these two little tabs, and I'm going to spread that glue out. If you want to use hot glue on this, you can. Just make sure you go real thin with it. Okay, and I want the hole facing where the flowers will be. So the hole should be facing not where the little motif is of the little acorn, but rather the side with no design. Okay, just give that a second. Let that set. There we go. Okay, beautiful. That came out awesome. All right, so, I mean, it's cool the way it is. Okay, and again, you'll notice, you know what? think I'm gonna fire up my hot glue gun just because I think it'll just go quicker. You'll notice here, maybe I'll put it at this angle. There's an A right there. There's another A there. There's an S right here. A is for aster, aster, sunflower, okay? And the way this is gonna work, you'll notice on these pieces here, okay, that we do have, there's an S actually etched into this, and that is obviously a sunflower. And you can also tell there's little guides for the placement of these, and there's kind of like a letter C right here, and that corresponds with this little gap here where the two leaves meet. Okay, so you really kind of can't get it wrong. It's gonna go right there like that, okay? Now before we do that though, we need to layer this correctly. Okay, so first things first, you'll notice that this also has an S on it, okay? This has an S on it, and that's all we need there, but also our sunflower, okay? And this is actually gonna go first, and you'll also notice that there's a circle here, but there's basically a little score mark that corresponds to this section here. So this guy is gonna go up like this, okay? And he's just gonna he's gonna live right there, like that. And yeah, I think I'm gonna go with the hot glue. It'll just go quicker. And I don't think it's not gonna harm anything. And for some reason, my hot glue is blinking red. That's not good. We may end up using regular glue, and it's okay. Excuse me, flybees, just buzz off. Okay, so there goes our maple leaf. And then these guys are gonna go this way. Again, there's that little C right there that corresponds to this little area here, this little gap. Okay, you know what, for the first one, I'm gonna use hot glue, but for these, I think you can just go with the regular glue. Okay, so that's gonna go right there. Just match that up like so. Just hold that in place. And I do kind of probably want this to stand up a little bit more. That's fine. All right, and then that's where our sunflower is going to go. So let's, you know, you can also, if you wanted to, you could use a Zot for this, like a 3D Zot. Give that a little extra dimension. It'll hold it. That way you don't even have to worry about using glue. And the cool thing about that is you can always move it around too if you need to, want to reposition it. Okay, but that's how that's going to look. And we can always kind of finesse things a little bit if we want to. All right, so next we have, let's see, we got this little piece here. You can see this has a little A on it, and that's going to go right here, like that. Okay, so we've got this kind of wrapping around this way. I'll show you from this angle, and then that's kind of going to go down like that. Maybe I didn't charge my, oh, and you can also see that this circle here is kind of flush on one side. It's kind of right there, and that's so it matches up with the very bottom of this little panel. You can see how it terminates right there so it doesn't go over it. Okay, so next, before we actually put the flowers on, we're going to take this oak leaf, the medium-sized one. There's this one here. We're not going to do that one just yet. We're going to do this one. We're going to grab this small one, the small little, I don't know what that is. I don't know what kind of leaf that is. This is a small little leaf. And that's just going to get glued on like this. And it's going to kind of sit on top of that oak leaf, roughly like that. Okay? And then we're going to take this larger oak leaf, and he's going to go right here at about this angle. Let's see here. Yeah, that's about right. Just like that. And then we're going to fold that over, but not right now. So go ahead and put a little bit of glue. You can kind of see that there's a circle down here. Okay, and then just bring it down right about like that. A little more. There we go, just like that. Okay, because what's going to happen here is we're going to glue this. That's going to go right here. So this little circle is going to go like this, with this leaf kind of going off to the right, like that. And then this is going to get folded over onto that surface. Okay, so this is where the hot glue would be super handy. Let's see if we can fire it up. Oh, I don't know what's going on there, hot glue. I'm just going to put some hot glue right on that A. Nice and thin. Okay, do it this way so you can see better. You want that guy going off to the side like that. And then this little leaf is going to go over onto this side. Nice and easy, just like that. Okay. And then just put our asters in place. So the small one's going to go right here, like so. And I'm just going to glue that one on. Right there. You stay put, mister. There you go. I'll grab the large one, and that's going to go right on that little A right here. Okay, and that's where hot glue might be a good idea here, or patience. Patience is always good. If you don't have patience, use hot glue, or vice versa. Or maybe you just need to really give that a nice little press to make sure it sits. Now, once everything actually takes hold, we can come in here and kind of fluff everything up a little bit. There we go. Okay, and I'm going to bring my sunflower out and put that leaf behind it. There we go. Okay, and then this guy, he's going to come over here onto this surface ever so slightly, like that. And there we go. Okay, so we're just going to repeat that on the other side. I kind of want to see what this looks like. That's really nice, especially when we put that candle in there. It'll add a nice contrast. But that looks fantastic. Okay, so let's do that one more time on the other side. And like I said, we've got the little guides there, so you really can't goof it up. Okay, so let's start here with our maple leaf. Again, you can see there's a little circle here, and then it kind of points out there. Corresponds with this section of this leaf. You know, I like to do this twice because sometimes maybe I'll mention a little tidbit that helps it make more sense the second time around. But again, this process is going to be the same for both sides. Okay, I'm going to try this with just regular glue this time. Okay, you just kind of push that up against the surface a little bit. Okay, next, I'm going to do this leaf. Now remember, we have that little C right there, corresponds to this little section of the leaf where the two meet. So you just want to kind of line that up. Okay, just like that. There we go. Okay, and I think I learned from the last time that I want to put the sunflower on last. Okay, so let's grab these two. I'm going to take this small one, pop it right on top of the larger oak leaf, and it's going to go pretty much like right on it, off to the left, maybe just a tad. Actually, yeah, so you can see the little circle and the stem, they line up pretty much perfectly. Okay, and then we'll take our larger oak leaf, throw a little bit of glue on him, and that's going to go right on top right here. that. Just want it so that the tips of these right here are not competing. They should be kind of right next to each other like that. And then this is going to get bent over like that. All right, so that, again, this is where the hot glue will help. Put it right here on this A. There we go. Whoops. And that's going to go, whoops, just like that. You can fold that over. There we go. Okay, now don't forget this little guy here, and the bottom of this goes flush with the little overlay, that metallic overlay. You can see exactly where that goes. You've got the little A there. Just match that up. Keep that bottom part flush. While you're holding it, you can give that a little push so it curls over. All right, now let's get our small aster. Maybe there's still some hot glue in here. You could just use the hot glue. That'll work. Small one goes right there, right on top of that oak leaf. Okay, large one. I don't know how this is still hot, honestly, but I'll take it. That one's gonna go there, like that. And then finally, our sunflower. And that's just gonna go right there. Finish it off. And there we have it. Okay, so we've got it on both sides. And so here, if you want, you can use like some little foamed, some Zots or something to really get this. Let me show you what I mean here. You take this little 3D Zot, throw it on the back of this leaf, and then I can take it and press it up against the side of the lantern so it really hugs it. And it'll actually keep it in place too. So like this whole thing is just going to be adorned with leaves like that. Okay, however you want to do it. This is really up to you at this point. But I think that turned out great. And then just need to pop a candle in there and we're good to go. So that's going to do it for our autumn glow lantern. Hope you guys enjoyed it. If you did, please visit us on our YouTube channel. Hit that subscribe button. While you're there, hit the little bell so you get notifications anytime we release a new product, whether it be paid or free. And if you make this or anything from our new bundle, I'd love to see it, and so would the rest of our community. So head over to your Facebook and do a search for Dreaming Tree Official. That's where you'll find myself and over 43,000 other dreamers that inspire us daily. So anyway, hope you enjoyed it, and as always, I look forward to crafting with you again. Hey, thanks for crafting along with me. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, check out some of our other videos, and please consider hitting that subscribe button. Also, don't forget to visit our site and check out our free SVG section, where you'll find over 140 free SVG files complete with assembly tutorials. I'll see you in the craft room.